I think it's a great idea. The more options one has, the more successful he or she has the chance of becoming. So if you decide to manufacture and build a business of your own, as we said before, you need to be motivated. You have to have the right circumstances. You have to have a family who's supportive. You don't want your spouse to be screaming at you every night when you get home. Instead, you want to have a spouse who will be there standing next to you. You need to be in the right entrepreneurial, let's call it frame of mind. And you need to have a product that produces an amazing value, and it's pretty unique out there in the market.
Sure.
Now, if you don't have all that, the licensing path is a very nice option. But you could do both. Why not? In fact, you could follow a number of different paths beyond just licensing. You could find distributors. We like to also support our clients to establish entrepreneurial cells. So let me explain what that is. Mm-hmm. So you start with your own business. Let's say this is the core business. And you get a few licensees, which is each one of them has his or her own standalone business. You license products to them or ideas to them. So each one of them, let's say if they're new, could become their own entrepreneurs. In fact, I would love to have as many entrepreneurs supporting my entrepreneurial business as possible, because together as a team, we will do better. Now, in the past, I've also used distributors worldwide. When I started Selective, which was one of our first Ledgmore businesses, we made cell phone accessories for Motorola, for BlackBerry. We made the cases, headsets, Bluetooth headsets. We made chargers and battery packs. And it was a big business. We did all the black cases that you may remember getting with your BlackBerries. We made the Motorola cases for the old Razor phones back in the, 6-7 years ago when Razors were hot. Anyway, we didn't do it just for the U.S. We did it all over the world. So we had distributors in India. We had distributors in South America. And when I couldn't find the right distributors, I would get partners and I would put them in business and I would give them distribution rights. We would sign an agreement. Sometimes I would even invest in their businesses. So that's another way of starting entrepreneurial cells and putting other individuals, making them entrepreneurs to support your entrepreneurial business. So you end up with a core and then a number of different e-cells all over the world. There are many other ways one could expand. There are a number of different agreements, vendor agreements, distribution agreements, sales rep organizations, individual salespeople who you pay them only a commission. You don't have to pay them salary if you can work something out with them.
Sure.
Many, many different possibilities.
What's interesting, John, is that I started to get some emails coming in, and I guess we're up to this point where if you have this invention and you don't have any money, I know that there's the path of potentially licensing it, but you do need to kind of do your due diligence to a point to see if it is your intellectual property and not somebody else's that they're going to license. So whether it's an invention, product, or a service, when is the right time to ask for money or to take money from somebody, a friend, family, raising it from a stranger, whatever it is? And then what do you need to do to be prepared to ask somebody for money?
So that's really moving into the formation, which is, the third step as we have explained in the book, and that's forming a business plan. Now, what's a business plan? Well, at the end of the day, it's basically a spreadsheet that says this is how much revenue I'm going to get, this is my cost, this is my profit, this is my cash. In some companies, you may have to invest in capital, CapEx, capital expenditures. You may have to build inventory. So you have to take all of that into account. And then you look at your cash flow. Remember, cash flow is king when you start a business. It's all about cash. And you look at how much cash you're going to need to get this business up and running until the break-even point. Let's say it's $100,000. That's the money that you need to raise. So the best way to raise money is to go to friends and family, because friends and family, remember, that's why we call them friends and that's why we call them family. They're supposed to be nice to us, and they are not supposed to charge too much for their investment, meaning that you don't have to give them too much ownership of the company. And if it's a loan, you don't have to pay them some outrageous interest rates. So my advice is always start with friends and family. Many businesses do not need as much money as you may think they need. Selective Case, for example, it was a $25 million business in its third year and profitable from day one. We invested, my business partner and I, a total of $20,000, and we barely used it. We just became very, very creative, and we relied on vendors, on factories, on people out in the industry who actually supported our business. But sometimes you can't do it like this, and sometimes you have to have money and you need to raise it. So friends and family is the first step. Mm-hmm. Second step, I would say, go find high net worth individuals. We do that with the Ledgemer Group all the time. We will help our entrepreneurs come up with their plan. We will help them try to raise the money through friends and family. And if they fail, then we will take them to high net worth individuals. Then, if that doesn't work, then we will take them to angel groups. We work with a number of different angel groups, and every deal is different. Investors have different requirements, so the entrepreneur has to listen and try to accommodate, and there's an ask bid usually, and you have to negotiate something that works. So that's usually how one raises money. But I think forming the business plan and working out the details and having some realistic assumptions that demonstrate the cash flow needs of the company is an absolute must.
Well, do you feel like people really invest? Let's say you go to an angel group or you go to friends and family or what have you. Do people invest in one product? Have you seen that?
Yes. They may invest in one idea that has the potential to grow, but as an investor, I have to say I don't invest in products. I don't invest in ideas. I invest in people.
Right.
Because no matter how good the idea sounds, it's going to face challenges and problems. And it's going to be up to the entrepreneurs to find a solution, reinvent the company over and over and over again, and make it work. So investing in the right people is much more important than investing in good ideas.
Okay, well that sounds great. You have a person that came up with an idea. They're a great person, and you give them the money, and then what? Is it really that you're investing in the person and the people that are around them that they selected or that they built a team? Or is it that person that has the great idea and now has your money and doesn't know what to do next?
Well, shame on me if I gave money to someone who doesn't know how to use the money in a smart way. So I would say that before any investor gives money to any entrepreneur, the entrepreneur has to come up with a business plan. He or she has to make a case, and he or she has to demonstrate that they have the ability to reinvent the business. I look at, as an investor now, I look at the background of individuals. I try to see how successful they've been in the past, what they've done with other businesses. And, of course, I rely with my gut. It's a gut decision. Do I invest in this business or not, you know? And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but that's the way it goes. All I can hope for is that I make the right decision more times than I made the bad decision.
Sure. John, and this is a question from a listener I was trying to digest while you were speaking, is it better to ask for a loan and get a loan or in that way, or is it better to take equity or to give equity in the company?
So the answer is it depends on the investor. And I usually let the investor make that call. Either way it works. The investments that I've seen most commonly used is that we come up with an equity participation where we split the equity into two types. You have common stock and preferred stock. And the entrepreneur has common stock. The investor has preferred stock. You can argue about the preferences of the preferred stock. That's usually where the negotiation takes place. But at the end of the day, the preferred stock can be converted to a common stock when the business has met a number of different goals and targets. And then everything gets equalized, and the entrepreneur ends up with an X% and the investors with Y%. So where it gets complicated is when the entrepreneur may come back and say, look, I need more money now. And in this case, I've seen more convertible notes where the second tranche or third or what have you comes in the form of a loan, and it's convertible to preferred. But the entrepreneur, the company, has the right to satisfy the loan within a certain time frame. So again, it depends on who the investor is and what the requirements of the investors are. My advice to any entrepreneur would be just try to accommodate what the investors wish, but don't sell the shop.
Well, that makes sense. And in a way, a business plan is there as a guideline for you. And I know that there's different projections and things like that you need to include in the projections. And it's almost sometimes far-fetched when you're thinking about a product, where it's going to go and all the different details and expectations out there. But it's really a guide. And as you're going through your business plan and proposing it, there's going to be tweaks and turns and different paths that you take. But ultimately, the goal should be where you want to go or the goal that you've set for your business or your invention.
Well, some people say, coming up with a spreadsheet is a waste of time. I'm going to make so many assumptions, and they're just assumptions and nothing else. Well, I disagree with that. I think it's always good to come up with a business plan and a spreadsheet and assumptions. And what this exercise does, it helps you optimize your business model. It helps you put energy out there, creative energy, and set up goals. When you look at a spreadsheet with specific targets, that often becomes a motivation for some. Oh, God, I need to achieve this specific goal, this specific revenue number, this specific cash flow target, whatever it might be. So I think it's important to go through the exercise. Now, as an investor, I always know that it's going to change. And, the entrepreneur and his advisors together would have to work to reinvent the business over and over again, and the business model will change. But it's good to start with something.
As an investor, well, let's say as an inventor, entrepreneur, and investor, the expectations of how long something takes till you see it start to bring in revenue. I know you said to try to just get it out there, but is there really set expectations? I mean, everything is different, and the paths are different in each process and procedure and product. How do you determine how long it's going to take for you to turn around and start to see either an investment in your idea or your investment in your pocket?
Well, on average, I would say it takes about 18 months before a business is up and running. but there are differences, and it might be worth mentioning the differences we see between the West Coast and the East